Welcome to Leaving Nothing to Chance, your go-to podcast where we bring you insights from some of the most influential voices in small business and personal development. Each week, we dive deep into conversations with top thought leaders, authors, and business moguls from around the world, sharing their secrets to success and strategies for growth. Tune in for exclusive content that will inspire, motivate, and equip you to take your journey to the next level. This is Leaving Nothing to Chance.
This is going to be a lot of fun. My new friend who lives in Bali part of the time, but right now he's in China visiting with his girlfriend's family. Oskar Woehr, how are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful right now. It's just morning, so I love that time zone difference.
What's the
I do
time
not,
difference? I'm thinking what the time difference is. It's 6 o'clock here on Friday nights.
yeah,
What is it for
and
you?
here's seven in the morning,
13
or
hours.
13 hours.
So kind of like
Differences.
Manila.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And tell everybody where you are in China and give them a bit of a roadmap because most people don't know the geography of China.
We're in Shenzhen, which is in the south of China. It's right next to Hong Kong. Shenzhen is a massive city, though. Probably most people know Shanghai and Beijing, and then there are only three tier one cities are called just like the massive cities. Shenzhen is the third one.
You made a decision a number of years ago. We're going to come back to some things on China specifically and how you can help people in business because our show is dedicated to the entrepreneur. And we have
Mm,
so many of you listening. And I just said to Oscar off camera, I said, you're probably going to wind up doing some business off of this show because all of us in network marketing want to do business in
mm,
Taiwan, Hong Kong,
mm.
China mainland, if your company is open in that market. Oscar could be a great resource for all of you. So take good notes. So we'll come back to that for a minute, but let's go on the journey for a minute. So you're born in Britain, you wind up going to Bali, or what am I missing? Tell everybody the story. Your story. I don't know the story. I'm just learning the story.
So my cultural background is can be a bit confusing because I grew up all over Europe actually. But I was born in Switzerland, and then I lived in Switzerland, Sweden, Belgium, UK, Spain. Most recent one was in Spain. So after that, we went to Bali. That was just 2 years ago, mainly just for my girlfriend is Chinese, so we go just to be closer to the family and kind of a middle point. But also Bali, if you haven't been, it's one of the best places for connecting with other online entrepreneurs, similar to Dubai. We go through Dubai a lot as well, but online entrepreneurs. And there's a really great community of both expats and the Balinese people are extremely friendly. So it's really good vibes overall. But that's how I grew up. Yeah, super international. I am half a quarter American, but I never lived in the States
Okay.
as well.
Okay. So Bali is home now, and you mentioned the fact that there's so many online entrepreneurs because I'm noticing that
Mm,
I know a few people like yourself in Bali. I know a few people in Dubai for that matter that
yeah.
weren't born there that ended up there. Why is that? What is it that's attract? Bali's actually got a lot of things to be attractive about, but
Yeah.
beaches, all sorts of beautiful things. But from a business standpoint, what is it that's attracting so many entrepreneurial people to that market?
Yeah, it's become this way. It's the just the it started with what you said, the beaches, the friendly people, but that's all over in Indonesia. The Philippines, you can go anywhere for that. The Bali specifically attract a lot of people, expats, but expats are not allowed to work in Bali. They're not allowed to get a job there. So you have to be an online entrepreneur. And then somehow throughout the years, just with more people loving it and the Balinese people being so friendly, it's created a network effect of where a lot of online entrepreneurs want to live there and stay long term just because the community has developed so much now. There are a couple other places like that in Asia, like Chiang Mai and Thailand, but Bali still has yeah, it's very established now. And there's so many amenities for foreigners as well. So there's pros and cons because Bali is developing a lot, but yeah, the community is still incredible.
Amazing, amazing. Let's talk
Mm,
about
mm,
one of your business ventures because you and your girlfriend actually
mhm.
teach Mandarin. I know you don't teach the Mandarin part, you're the business part. I know you speak some Mandarin, obviously, which is not easy, needless to say. And obviously, your girlfriend speaks the language fluently. But tell people about your business and how they can, if they want to learn Mandarin, which is not a bad idea in the business world. It's certainly the other language besides English, if you had a choice to
Yeah.
learn when you're 4 or 5, which doesn't normally work out that way. But tell people how they can find out about your course.
Yeah, of course. So what people need to know is that actually Mandarin is a very simple language in terms of the grammar structure and the vocab. The only thing that gets people confused is the characters, like learning to read and write. But what we do is we remove that. Not that we don't need to learn it, but we don't need to start with it because how babies learn is through a lot of listening and just repeating or listening and trying to practice what we hear. We're called Shiao Gu Chinese, which means little melon in Chinese. It's very simplest XAIO then GUA. You can just look us up on Instagram or on Google. And we help people who are really want to get to a decent fluency level. Because Duolingo is okay to get the started, to get some few random words, but people can't have a full conversation with that. Or even like just watching random YouTube videos. Again, it's okay, but it's hard to practice the speaking side. So what we do is really make sure that people actually can use what they learn through being able to practice very intentionally and have a very clear system to progress every week and actually reach decent conversational fluency. And we teach people all over the world, actually quite a few Americans, Canadians, yeah, but Europeans, Australians, expats in China as well. And I will say the hardest thing for people is just actually, yeah, building a consistency because it's like fitness in the end. Language learning is like fitness. And if you go to the gym once per week, you're not really building muscles. So we need to be practicing 2, 3, 4 times per week because that's what's going to get the best results. That's why I always tell people, if you want to learn the language, treat it like a fitness, as if you're going to get a six-pack in language learning.
And where do they find out about that? What website do they go to?
They can go to, if they Google us, they will either find our website with the general information of just Shiao Gu Chinese. Easiest would be either to just, or go to my Instagram, for example, Oskar Woehr, because now you have my name. And then you just message me or click the link on my bio. Those would be the two easiest ones, depending on who's there, or just reach out to me.
Great. Let's talk about a few other things. You've got a great statement that real strength is in silence, it's awareness. Tell us about that.
Mm. Real strength isn't silence, it's awareness. Being self-aware is very important. Ever since I was a teenager, I think it came from my mom, but just really enjoying the power of mindfulness. I think that's it's one of the most important habits, or let's say skills you can build. Being mindful of one's emotions and one's surroundings. Because if you're able to, it's what the Viktor Frankl said. I don't, I'm going to butcher his quote, but real strength is in between stimuli and response. There's a space, and that's our choice of how we react. And if we can develop, like, instead of just like passively like hearing what's happening, but being aware of what's going on, that I think that's developed through mindfulness. And if we're able to, yeah, practice that, be aware of our emotions, the space between stimuli and response, and that's super powerful because then you just be more intentional about how you want to show up in the world.
And that would lead me to another great quote that you have, that building impactful businesses, kind of what it's all about, right? We talked about this a little bit off air. A business that when you get to the end of the line, like I'm starting to get to now at my age, where you say, have I actually done anything besides made a living and paid my bills, which is good, nothing wrong with that. But are you proud of your product or your service or what you've done in the community, the jobs you created, et cetera? So elaborate why that's important, because money is not the only thing that keeps people going. It's important, but it's not enough, frankly.
Yeah, and I appreciate your reminder. It's not always easy because, especially, I know a lot of entrepreneurs like when the world's getting a bit more expensive, normal, but it's hard to not only focus on the money too. I think it is ultimately because I sometimes on the tough days I'm like, man, just quit and start something else. But I'm like, it's gonna be hard anyway. So like now I've gotten far enough. It's harder to quit because we want to get to maybe a more sustainable place where you can either exit or not. But yeah, making sure you're always remembering what you can be grateful for and the impact you're making is much more important than the money because money comes and goes. Like you said, it's a tool at this point. Yeah. I think starting for the money helps. I met people who make a lot of money and they do it just for the money. But I think you can live, yeah, a much more fulfilling life if you focus on contribution and growth. Like Tony Robbins says, the six human needs that two of the needs are growth and contribution, and that's what really helps people to well, feel alive. Yeah.
When you look at some of the great entrepreneurs,
Mm.
time, Andrew Carnegie, for example, who built all the libraries. You look at Elon Musk right now, some of the things that he's doing, controversial maybe because of some of the politics, but at the end of the day, look at what he's doing and the things that he's doing to help people. He's got that brain product, for example, that they're working with now for brain stimulation, for Alzheimer's and things, and on. And there's a lot of great examples. But how does someone go through, and you referenced it a minute ago, go through those moments, and believe me, I still have them. 42 years in business, there's still
Oh
days.
yeah? No way.
What am I doing? God Almighty! And where you have to look past the financial part. Am I accomplishing something that's helping people? But to that point, how do you help people to stay in the game, whatever their game is, whatever it is that they're passionate about, that they're bringing to the marketplace, where they see, hey, there's a greater value here than just me. I may have started the business, but other people are benefiting by my product, my service, being employed by me, et cetera, et cetera. How do you remind yourself that there's intangibles that maybe we don't see every single day when we're grinding?
That's very powerful. And John, did you start your businesses like always by yourself or did you have a partner?
And I was
Honestly,
always by myself.
man, that's even harder, I imagine. Because when I get,
Very
yeah,
lonely.
yeah, especially at least I have my partner, and whenever one of us is man, it's tough. Then we have each other, and we're like, yeah, it just helps you get out of the ruts. That's what I usually recommend. You don't always find a partner to start a business, but if you do, it's super helpful. And aside from that, I would say through a lot of self-reflection, I don't always think about the clients, actually. I those are like those client wins are awesome, but I do it more for my family. That's it. Like just visualizing, hey, when I have the financial goals that I want, what kind of life can I live? What kind of contribution can I make to the people close to me? I think that's what drives me more at this moment.
So let's talk about personal growth. What three things can people do? And maybe there's a fourth, maybe it's two. I don't know. I ask people this, one of my generic questions. Three things people can do right now. They're listening to us wherever they are sitting in the world. Maybe they're frustrated with their finances. Maybe they're frustrated with other aspects of their life, their career, whatever it happens to be. What three things can they start to do and change to get to a better place than they're currently at?
Mm, that's a very broad question. First is self-awareness, like you said before, like knowing, because many people just get trapped in the loop of doing the same thing over each day, and then maybe they get a little happy because something happened, but then they go back to where they've been. So the most important thing is knowing what you want. Like you need to know where you want to go. I'd say the getting super clear on that, and you can do that by yourself, of course. I like just the exercise I do a few times per week. It's just now reference Tony Robbins a few times. I like his exercises, but Tony Robbins RPM, which is write down the result that you want, make it very clear, measurable, actionable, smart kind of results. Then attaching the why. What's the purpose of this goal? Like, why is it so important? Who do you want to become through this goal? And then only after that, defining the how. Because oftentimes we start with a how, like how can I get to 100,000 per month, 100 million per month? But if we don't have the clear goal or the purpose behind it, then the how that doesn't matter too much because it's gonna fizzle out. It's not gonna be as clear. Because like you said, it's not always not about the money. We gotta make sure, okay, 100K per month. Purpose, what's the purpose? Oh, so that I can fly my team to Bali. That's one of my goals. When we hit that goal, and this and this and this, and then this is how we can do it. Because the how can always change. How is an infinite amount of hows. We need to know the what and the why. And if a person is feeling, let's say, frustrated or stuck, they need to know that it's just usually just fear. Like lack of clarity comes through action as well. And the reason that we're not taking action is for some fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, not being loved. So maybe people, and some people say they don't know what they want. That's okay too. As long as you start to think about it, the answers will come too. Clarity comes through action. That's a good one that I learned, I'd say, last year or so. Because you think that you need to have clarity before you take action, but actually clarity comes through action. You can have some vague idea, but you only get clear when you have the next step. Because yeah, you can't see far. Like humans in our visual field, you can't see that far. But when you get closer to where you want to go, you can see if it's actually the right direction too.
That makes so much sense because sometimes you just get started and you have no
Mm,
idea where you're going. And you know this because you've started multiple
yeah.
businesses. I've started multiple businesses. Over 40 years, I've started, everybody thinks of me in network marketing. And yes, I've been very successful in network marketing. What you don't know is how many non-network marketing businesses I've had, or verticals within the network marketing space of
Yeah.
materials, books, and training, and all sorts of things. And at the end of the day, how many blew up and didn't work?
Mm,
Okay, versus the
mm,
ones that they go, oh, you're really successful. Yeah, because of these couple of things. You don't know about the 47 that blew up. And it's when you get that clarity, but you only get that clarity, I find. I love your thoughts on this, Oscar. You only get that clarity when you start. You can put tons and tons of notes down on what should happen, but until you get out there to the marketplace and start to see what
yeah.
is people's response to what I'm doing, what's their thoughts? Maybe I should bounce this off I call it a core group. Some people call it different things. A think
Mm,
tank, if you will. Get 5 or 6 friends together and say, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking. Am I nuts?"
yep. Yeah.
And and sometimes you are, by the way, and they'll tell you that. And then sometimes you're nuts and you go forward anyway. But I love your thoughts on that because you've had multiple
Yeah.
ventures and some that have been very successful and some that I'm sure you wish you had never started. So that
Yeah, exactly.
clarity and action is such an important relationship. But go one step further. Okay, tell
Yeah.
people when that clarity starts because of the action.
And that's so true. I just, yeah, even the simple steps and then testing it with people. Like I meet with, yeah, a couple other friends once per month. We call it the titanium partners. We just to bounce around ideas, solve bleeding neck problems. Yeah, having people around you who are also going for similar goals, that's very powerful too. I love that you mentioned that. Because oftentimes, if you tell people your goals who have no interest in doing something similar, then they won't understand. And so then people think that, oh, maybe my idea is not good because you're sharing with somebody who doesn't know. Like I did that with a friend, a few years ago when we hit, let's say, our milestone of first 10K per month. And he was like, well, that's so much. But that was like, I was so stressed because we had like ups and downs. I was like, you don't understand, man. So that was a non-entrepreneurial friend. But then I meet with these other guys now. And yeah, it's very powerful to have that surrounding because they see things in a very different perspective. Because one of the friends, for example, like he's spending whatever, like $1 million per month on ads, and we're just starting ads. We don't usually do mostly organic. So that's very helpful because he's been through a path that I haven't been through yet. And that's the power of other people, mentors, people who have done something you want to do, because they can have a little bit more clarity in what you have, what works, what doesn't work too. I guess you had a lot of mentors too, especially in network marketing, though. Or,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
many, and what I've always found is it's kind of like you try something in a small increment. Dan Kennedy, the great copywriter, he always says you test small for a reason. Small test and a big
Hmm.
test can tell you about the same numbers, right? I didn't
Mm.
always know that. I tested some stuff big at one time in my life, lost a lot of money. And it was like, okay,
Oh.
if the 500 person test is going to tell me what the 5,000 person test is, and it's going to tell me it at
Mm.
10%, same numbers. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm onto something, or I'm crazy, or I need to totally change what I'm doing. So let's talk a little bit about now. It's been such a game changer. Anyway, and I know you and I have talked about it on when you interviewed me, and I know you utilize it, but how do you utilize it, and how is it changing your business? And part of that question, because you're dealing in multiple languages, how are you using AI to do all of the stuff you're doing? At the least with Mandarin and English, which are two pretty
Yeah.
huge languages, but two very different
Yeah.
languages.
It's, I feel like we could be doing a lot more. But I think every entrepreneur is feeling that, or every person wants to utilize AI so much more. Like we're not using AI agents yet, but agents are super powerful. Those are the ones that basically will do execute tasks for you. But I haven't put in the time to explore it as much as I would want. Right now, we're mainly using it to like create a lot of content, create materials for us. That's been really helpful, like on the language side, creating materials of like reading exercises, watching exercises. You can use it for like looking up content, having a database of listening materials. Very simple stuff though. We're still exploring, and otherwise, in most simple ways, just automating a lot as well. Automating the yeah, nurturing people in sales and marketing, automating the way people get onboarded onto yeah our school. I don't know if I have any like breakthrough kind of AI tips. I still feel like we're using it in a very simple way, but I do like just automating as much as possible, like track tracking our social media growth, for example, or our sales, and everything just gets put into a very like a report every week. That's really, I think that's just small, simple things for now.
Okay, okay. And let's talk about your average day,
Mm,
because I ask all my entrepreneurial podcasting friends, give me an average day. When do you get up? How do you start your day? And how many hours per day do you generally put into your business, etc.?
nice, very cool. The generally I get up around this time, so 7 a.m. I always try to get 8 hours of sleep, 7, 8 hours of sleep. I think that's very important. And then I'll work because I do also a lot of triathlon training. Right now I'm training for another race in November, so peak training time right now. So usually I'll go for either a run or a bike ride. That's an hour or two. And other than aside from that, I'm still taking a lot of calls just for yeah with the team or for sales. And generally I have 3, 4 calls each day. And other than that, yeah, what else am I focusing on? Right now, a lot of strategizing. Actually, going to hire another salesperson very soon, so working on hiring. I'm still very much in the business, but we are getting to a phase where I'm able to phase myself out with this, especially with this new hire, because we've been able to increase the sales pipeline, which is very awesome. But a lot of calls still, a lot of calls, trying to reduce that. I've actually set myself a mission to hit a significant revenue milestone by June next year, or I will fire myself from the business. Like just to be able to really detach myself from not having calls so that the business can run by itself more and I can be more on the management side so that I can focus between triathlon and business. This is still a very important thing for me.
I love the fact you say you fire yourself. I have fired myself so many times, and then I go through the groveling to rehire myself. God, should I rehire? I love that you said that because only an entrepreneur understands what that is. Where you just go, you really suck at what you do. You're fired. Get somebody else in here to do this because you're not very good
Yeah.
at it. More entrepreneurs, by the way, should probably have that conversation because there are some people who are really bad at what they do running companies. I see some of the
So,
craziness in my industry of just stupidity of people
oh yeah.
they hire their friends. Like, how about you hire the best person? At the pirate,
Mm,
no, let me hire some friend because I need a job. Not at a senior level, you'll destroy your business. And they do ultimately figure it out after millions of dollars normally in losses. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about your podcast. Tell people about your podcast, where they
mm.
hear it, what the general themes are, etc.
Too funny. Yeah. Firing yourselves. It's the real deadline though. So that's exciting. And then my podcast, Patterns of Success, Freedom, and Happiness. It's a podcast that I used to be called something else, and then I changed it in the last year because I realized like everything is patterns. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you listen to podcasts. It dives into really talking about what creates success, what creates self-sabotage in the area of success that we're usually talking about, oftentimes entrepreneurship. But it's very important because if you don't recognize patterns, then you don't know what creates success. It's about that clarity, like we talked about. But everything is patterns in life. Patterns of relationships, patterns of business, patterns of physical fitness. That's if you know them and you can utilize them, then you can get to where you want to go.
Exactly. So, Oskar, as we start wrapping up, so if people want to get a hold of you, we talked about the course a little bit, right? If they want to get a hold of you for some of the other services, go through some of the other things that your company features and how they can reach out to you if they want to get in touch.
Of course, our main thing is helping people reach conversational fluency in Mandarin and Chinese. The best place to reach out would be actually through Instagram. It's a very more modern way of reaching out. I know you have to talk about websites. We do have a website, but mainly people come through social media. But a website is also fine. Just book a call with me. But otherwise, just reach out on Instagram. It's very easy. We help at every level. So for all the way from beginner to intermediate and advanced, like who really want to take it to the next level. And aside from that, of course, we have a presence in China and have a lot of connections to Hong Kong. If people in network marketing need some help, like either to learn some Mandarin or also just need help about the culture around here, happy to provide some guidance too. Otherwise, the main thing is on my podcast as well. Podcasts. Would love to have anybody who listens to this, like to see if it might be a fit to interview them. Love entrepreneurs, just like you. And yeah, those are mainly the things I'm focused on right now, actually. I used to have other businesses, but this is really what I'm doing at the moment. We'll see in the future.
You're certainly in a sweet spot because yeah, Mandarin is, I guess now, is it the second most spoken language in the world after English? I think.
I think so.
think so.
Yeah, second or yeah.
I think at one time I think it was English, Spanish, French, but I think Mandarin's replaced it now.
Yeah, English. Mandarin has more native speakers, but yeah, I think Mandarin's the second one. I was trying to look it up, but
Yeah, certainly big, and certainly if you're going to do business in the world, you certainly can't ignore China or the Chinese language, culture, etc. And
Hmm.
great business
Yeah,
too. Great partners for any business. Great,
100%.
Oscar.
And we noticed.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the last thing, like we noticed that the people who, even if they just speak a little bit, like that they can introduce themselves in Mandarin or get to know the person on a very simple level, like Chinese people appreciate that so much. Like they'll be like, "Holy shit, a white guy speaks Mandarin." It still has that shock. So that, yeah,
How do I say my name in Mandarin? How do I say John in Mandarin?
I think John is a very simple. This would just be John. John. Yeah, I think
It's still John.
yeah, it's still John. Still
Doesn't
John.
change. Yeah, I always find a boring name. It's like, yeah. Anyway. This has been great, Oscar. Thanks so much, and enjoy your time. How long are you visiting your girlfriend's family for?
2 weeks, we're here for 2 weeks, then back to Bali.
Nice. Okay, great. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much, John. Pleasure.